Hi everyone, my name is Alyssa Charrier and I'm your presenter today. So today we will be discussing exercise and social well-being and long-term health. So if you remember from the last time, the definition of health by the WHO is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. So for the beginning of this presentation, we will focus on physical health. If you remember, physical health is comprised of three factors: regular activity, adequate rest, and good nutrition. So we focused on rest and nutrition last time. Today we will focus on physical activity. In the Doctrine and Covenants, section 93, verse 33, the Lord tells us that our spirits and our bodies, our spirit and element, inseparably connected, receive a fullness of joy. And when separated, a man cannot receive a fullness of joy. So our spirits and bodies together bring us joy. So basically, taking care of our bodies is a big deal. It's important to remember also that none of us has a perfect body. Well, not yet anyway. And President Nelson said, "A perfect body is not required to achieve one's divine destiny. In fact, some of the sweetest spirits are housed in frail frames. But what we can do is take care of the body we've been given and help it to reach its optimal potential." So let's talk about physical activity. Well, in the US, the Office of Disease Prevention and Health has established some physical activity guidelines, which we'll cover here. But I want those not from the US to realize that these are also similar to most guidelines throughout the world. So first, we need to get weekly aerobic activity. So what does this mean? Well, you should, either be getting 150 minutes per week of moderate intensity aerobic physical activity. This includes something like brisk walking. Your heart rate at this intensity should reach 50 to 70% of its max rate, and you will be calculating your max rate in this week's activity. Or you should be getting at least 75 minutes per week of vigorous intensity aerobic physical activity, such as running. Your heart rate at this intensity should reach between 70 and 85% of its max rate. So importantly, I also want to point out that the more you do beyond this, so more minutes, it brings even more health benefits. So if you aren't active yet, start working up to this and try to do even more. Finally, activity even done in increments of 10 minutes is enough, as long as you meet your goals of at least 150 minutes of moderate intensity aerobic activity for the week. So don't feel like you have to do it all at once. And really, especially if you're new to the physical game, just start working up in 10-minute increments. Finally, it's also important for us to do strength training exercises. We should be working for a goal of at least 2 or more days per week where we are doing strength exercises at a moderate to high intensity. These exercises could include, but aren't limited to, weightlifting, core training such as planks, and kettlebells. But there's other ways to do strength training as well to reach moderate and high intensity. There are also many studies now. I want to get into the data that actually supports why we should be exercising, but there's data that supports it for students, although this would be great for even a non-student. So one thing we know is that exercise just increases overall health. Research has also found that it can decrease stress. It increases a sense of belonging, so that's great. Also, exercise increases retention of information. It can positively affect academic performance. It results in better test scores. Also, it's a means of social support, and so this actually will sort of fit into the social well-being, which we'll talk about next. Also, exercise increases self-efficacy and spiritual well-being. And those that exercise regularly feel less depressed. So the final thing is, lastly, the earlier you begin exercise, the more likely you will continue to exercise when you're older. So even if you're falling in the older rather than younger category and haven't started exercising yet, don't get discouraged. Get out there anyway. And if you have kids, get them moving too. So I'm going to switch health topics here. Once again, the definition of health by the WHO is a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not merely the absence of disease or infirmity. And for the rest of this discussion, we'll be focusing on social well-being. So I want to provide you with some stats here. First of all, and these are not happy stats, so don't get excited about them. 20% of Americans state loneliness as a major source of unhappiness. 1/3 of all Americans over 45 report being lonely. 25% of emerging adults state that they were disengaged, expressing virtually no purpose in their lives. And finally, a survey done by the American College Health Association in 2017 reported that 67% of females and 54% of male college students reported feeling very, very lonely in the last month. So this is a current state of social well-being. And so what can we do about it? Well, one thing that's affecting our social well-being is the amount of time we're spending in front of the screen. And really, this is because across society, people are spending less time with friends and neighbors and more time in front of television, phone, and computer screens. Or according to Robert Putnam, we are privatizing our leisure time. As you can see here in this picture, and you've probably experienced this, where you've been with friends or family and you're together, but you're not together. So how much time does an average adult spend on social media? Well, average overall, 2 hours and 15 minutes per day are spent on social media. So how can we break that down? Well, this means the average person spends about 27 minutes per day on Facebook, 53 minutes per day on Instagram, 34.5 minutes per day on Snapchat. In contrast, let's take a look at time we spend doing other important things. Well, we volunteer about 5.41 minutes per day, and really only 25.3% of people actually volunteer. We spend 34 minutes per day with our family, and we spend about little over 2.5 hours studying, or 17 hours per week. So how much time are you spending watching TV? Well, take a look at this graph and tell me what you notice. Well, first of all, not all the countries are on it. I hope you noticed that. And the majority that are present here are developed countries, but there are a few developing countries. Or in other words, though, these are countries where time is something we do have to spend. Sadly, many of us are spending our extra time watching TV. In fact, the US wins at this with 270 minutes per day, or an average of 4.5 hours of TV watching. So sadly, while we are winning, and I just want to also point out that many countries are not that far behind us, this is a case where it's actually better to be the loser. So how can you lose at watching TV? So I just want you to think about in your future from here on out, maybe set some goals for yourself. And I just want to go over some TV watching stats. So here's some numbers for you. 8 hours and 15 minutes per day. Well, what is this? Well, this is the time the TV is on for an average American household. 9 years. This is the years the average person will have spent watching TV if they live to be 75. 2.24. This is the number of TVs in an average household. 67%. This is the percentage of Americans who regularly watch television while eating dinner. 1,480 minutes per week, or 24.6 hours. This one's kind of sad to me. This is how much time an average child watches TV. 54%. This is also a sad number to me. This is how many 4 to 6-year-olds have picked TV over time with dad. So how do we change this? Well, we spend time with each other. Real social interactions, meaning we put our devices away, we turn the television off. And whether it's with our spouse, our children, our grandchildren, our grandparents even, or families, or even with our friends, put those screens away and engage with each other. So one last thought. In the Family of Proclamation to the World, we are told, successful marriages and families are established on principles of faith, prayer, repentance, forgiveness, respect, love, compassion, work, and wholesome recreational activities. If you don't have an immediate family, that's okay though. I don't. But we can find time to spend with those we love and forge true connections with our extended families, our parents, our grandparents, our siblings, our nieces and nephews, or our own children if we have them, and our spouses, whoever is a part of your life. So make some goals today as to how you're going to put your devices away and make time for each other. And I'll see you next time.